kick it off with the first question that we had loaded. What we have is we had a pretty large company who was asking a pretty pointed question. And what they had asked is, what is the plan for growth within the company when people want to move up? What do you do if you can't afford it, or is it just not the right time? And so this is for really, I think, looking at scaling. So what's the plan for growth when people want to move up?
This is a great question. And this actually came from a technician that they had in the field for 3 years already. And that technician was feeling antsy. I feel like the 3-year marker starts to become that marker where a motivated team member, where either their office or their technicians, they wanted more, they want to move up, but they couldn't afford to bring this person in the office where they were how they were currently set up. So what do you do? What do you do with this person? Right? Because you need more money, and sometimes it's slow. Sometimes they have to learn the skill. And, can they take on that extra responsibility? So I would love to kind of talk through and get some insight from Aaron on what are some of the things he's done when you get that employee that wants to move up, but maybe either they're not ready or you don't have the money.
Yeah. So, this is a great question because I think it happens to all of us, and it's a little unique in the service industry because, if we're financially not organized in order to have that additional money to promote within, what other things can we do? And excuse me, one of the things, is really, I think, being prepared to promote that person. Definitely your SOPs in line. If you are able to promote that person, it makes a big difference. We have a couple employees that have been with us for 3 or 4 years, and we have gradually, moved them up into higher positions, whether it would be them being a trainer to give them some additional money per week, because we can't necessarily afford to bring them into an office and pay them a salary position. And, also to at the same time, is giving them, a little bit more responsibility and seeing how they perform in that aspect. It's been challenging though, of course, because if you don't have that additional money to be able to promote them, the business is, struggles in that way. So, how do you give them what they need? So we've done different things, within benefits wise, and also additional, things with, house checking, field managing, and also, giving them some additional responsibilities to make them think that feel that they're more valuable at that aspect in the company.
So I love what you said, Aaron, because here's one statement that is true, and it's been my experience, is that growth should come before the promotion. Right? If they truly want to grow, have they been growing themselves? What are they doing outside of that current role? Are they putting any extra time in? And are they growing, or are they just kind of spinning in the same position with the same skill, but the tenure, the time is starting to get to them. Oh, I've been here 3 years. I want more something, more money, more responsibility, you name it. Mm-hmm. But I want everyone to remember, growth comes before the promotion. The promotion doesn't create the growth in the person.
Yeah, and sometimes you give them those extra responsibilities and those extra, that extra money and bonus, and they don't perform. So I think it's important too, once a week, as you've given them more responsibilities, that you are, coaching them along the way and holding them a little bit more responsible. If they don't, perform, then that's just a way of, okay, the position wasn't meant for them. But we still want to keep them. So how does that align with, giving them more money? Or, what we've done, we've had this situation happen to us, and we had just given the employee an extra week's paid vacation because they were with us for 4 weeks, but they didn't perform as that additional, in that additional role. They didn't excel in it because they weren't supplying us with the responsibilities that we handed to them. So we had to, take it away, but in the same time, we still showed them that we appreciate them and gave them an additional week because that was something that we could afford.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things I want to touch here. Growth happens in 4 ways. We grow people in 4 different ways. And what are those? First is you grow their skills, right? And that's kind of like, what skill is that? Are they going into a leadership role? Is there the communication skills? Are you taking technician from the field into a sales role? So they have to grow their skills. And then they grow their ownership, which is being more responsible. And what are they owning, right? You let them own a process, or you let them own a decision, let them own a project or KPI before that promotion. You can also grow their impact. What bigger thing can they solve or can they do? You know, and from here, it's they grow into the next role. And this is my favorite topic. And I've done this in the company with a lot of people who are currently on this call, and they can contest. They grow into the next role. And what I do is, hey, I can't afford to do that right now. But if you get me here, if you get the company to this revenue, or if you help me get to X marker of customers, or if you help me get to wherever it is, then I can move you over there to the role you want. I did it with Rico. I did it with Chris. I did it with Marilyn, right? Marilyn started as my assistant. And it's a really great way to say, hey, I'm not going to dismiss you right now, or I can't do that. But if you do this, eventually I can get you over to where the thing that you actually want to do, or to the different position, or to earn more money. And because if you don't do that and someone does truly want to grow, even if you can't afford it, you could lose that person. And that's the hard decision.
Yeah, and like you said, like it's also, growing their impact, and what bigger problems can they solve for you? And, someone who used to clean homes, they may improve some of the training, that happens inside the company as well. That's something that we're working on right now. We actually had just restarted the one-on-ones with all of our employees, and we started asking them, where do you see yourself within the company? What do you where do you want to be in a year or 2 years or 3 years? And it was quite amazing to touch one-on-one again, because I think that as owners, we are so busy doing things, but we also at the same time need those employees to grow into those next roles to help us continue to grow. I think there's nothing worse than having an employee that's been with you for a couple of years that says that they want to leave because they feel that there's no growth. So it's a great topic here, because you have to create that development plan for them to grow within the company and help you succeed, because they're dedicated. They're used to being with the company, and you have to continue that growth for them.
And I love what you said about taking someone like a cleaner who might want to move up. Do you know that? So I hear this all the time. I hear owners saying, oh, I need to create a new training. I need to create a new training. Do you know who created all of my training? Is one of my cleaning technicians. She did. She was like my most tenured technician. We needed new training. I didn't know how to make it, but I thought I had to make it. And Marcy, she's now my ops manager. She was one of my original cleaners. I just said, hey, why don't you just start writing down everything you do? Like, document it. Let's write it down. And I think sometimes, even if we can't promote them, we can give them mini temporary projects that feel like a promotion or a bump, which is like, hey, why don't you create a whole new deep clean process? And it was funny because I think we dismiss sometimes the techs in the field and the ability of what they have, or some of the past skills they've used in other jobs. And Marcy was able to write it. All of our training she ended up redoing in Spanish, because she doesn't even speak English. And then we just translated it to English after she was done. Like, I could have used every excuse saying, oh, well, she doesn't know how to write that. Like, oh, but she doesn't speak English. No, she's like a phenomenal technician. And guess what? I didn't have to do it.
Yeah, and like you're saying, like people can handle the waiting, but what they struggle with is definitely the uncertainty of where they're going. And where is their role going to be in this company? And it's important to keep them aligned with your goals, and also helping them move up within the company.
Yeah. So before we go on to the next question, and if there's any questions you guys have that you want Aaron to answer, like, drop them in the chat. But I want to kind of close this out, right? One thing you can do is you can definitely lean into Leia with creating ask them to come in and, hey, make some micro plays. Ask them to say, hey, can you help me document some stuff of what you do in the field? Or like Aaron said, you start to prepare for future roles and you can start documenting those inside of Leia. But here's the one thing I want to close with on this question that was the number one mistake I ever did. And it's that don't promise people the position or the next position. You promise them the next level of growth. I have promised people positions and then things change, companies change, and then you can't live up to that promise. And that's how you lose trust and respect within your own company.
Yeah, most definitely. Don't make. We've done this,
So,
and it's always gotten us in the end. Is making those promises, to them, and we're not following through on that promise. Again, I think is definitely where Leia comes in is having that SOP and that prepared for them. We just had last week one of our company trainers. She came into the office and I said, I want you to sit here for 1 hour and write down every single thing. She went on the computer and she just created a whole checklist of everything that needs clarification for all the employees. And just within that 1 hour, we were able to solve, 20 things. And that's huge because then you don't have the constant uncertainty with all of the employees, constantly asking those same questions over and over again. And, I think it helps and it gives them a sense of they're solving problems.
yeah. And I also think the office can't make some of that stuff. Like, let's just be realistic. You can't ask like your office admin who's never cleaned a house in their life to make some systems or some processes for your field technicians. They can try, but I think that's a really great use of like bringing her in and having her document like what she do, what's her day look like, and then that can be handed off, right? And versus trying to get the office to do it, or better yet, trying to get yourself, the owner, to do it, which is never going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it gives them I think, and that makes them feel that they're part of something special, that they're creating and solving. And, with the thing with the one-on-ones, I actually had this manager sit with me in one of the one-on-ones. We didn't bring them into the office, which was really neat, is that we didn't bring them into the office. We just recorded it on Google Meet and we had the series of questions. So what we're creating is a montage of their answers of how they really love the company and different things, and we'll eventually create a montage of video of all of them talking about various things. But we're hoping that we'll be able to pass that on to her, and give her that opportunity to speak to each of the employees.
And I love that you recorded them.
Oh,
and so a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, I want to do them in person. Okay, you can do it in person, but there's nothing like having it recorded.
Yeah.
Why? The data. From AI, you can pop that thing into Leia, ChatGPT, Claude, whatever your AI of choice, and you now have that forever. You can also find so much information out about that, not just the training, but you could even ask the AI about, like, how did they respond? Do you see any red flags? Do they seem okay or disgruntled? And you can get that from a recording. And if you're doing one-to-one in person, which I get, you need to figure out to try how to record it.
Yeah. We did it just recording because we have such a big service area. So we didn't want to inconvenience them to, take time and then come all the way to the office and sit in person. And we did this while they were, at the end of the day, they're in their home, they're more comfortable. And I feel that they were more comfortable and more willing to be more honest with a lot of the answers because of the environment that they were in. And they weren't sitting across from us at a table, and we weren't sitting there with a pen and piece of paper writing down what they were saying. So it was interesting because, again, like you said, Libby, the AI factor is that right after the calls, we get the transcript through Gemini, and then we took that and then we, downloaded the video, downloaded the, the transcript. We have that now and all that information. So this way we can see a trend if anything, with all of our, employees. And, one of the questions that we asked is, how do you feel working with your, coworkers or your, other team players? And because sometimes there's bigger jobs and we do bigger homes. And is quite amazing because you see the group of people that all love working together. And then you might have one or two, which are newer employees that might have a different view towards working with other people. So, it kind of gave us that information of whether or not we're going to put those people in leadership positions, or if they have the ability to, be a leader because of their responses.
Nice. Love that. Great idea, by the way. They're recording it. Like, we record everything. Poor me and Chris, we even record our private conversations. Because how many times do you like get a great idea or you want to say you want to do something? And so we're at dinner and like our phones are recording our conversation. And if we don't have anything spectacular that comes out of it, you just delete it. But then, I don't know about you guys, but I could have this great idea or conversation. And then 5 seconds later, be like, oh my God, what did I just say? I was going to write it down. And you're like, I can't remember.
That's another level of trust, is recording your spouse's conversations all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Watch out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Start recording our conversations.
Poor.
Within the entire company, every time that we meet with one of our admin team too, it's always recorded. It comes back in a transcript. We have all of those transcripts and, all of those next steps, at the bottom of that transcript. So then this way, everybody knows, how to continue the flow of moving things. And, it's been interesting. And we've just done this the last, week, which has been really, so we're trying to develop that now with also too, the new employees, because we're growing still. We're extremely busy, and we need to find out what is the disconnect with new employees not staying in 30, 60, 90 days. Is it, and what we're finding out, it's the training and also the expectation of them, when they're getting hired. So there's been a couple other industry leaders that have shared some things. And I think one of the things that we'll wind up doing is, an intro video of the expectations of when the new employee gets out of training or when the new employee comes on board. So this way they know exactly what they're getting into. Because I think we all have, how many people say that they love cleaning, especially in the cleaning industry, and then they get out there and it's just something that it's not for them.
I'm like, this shit sucks. No, like actually cleaning. I can say that because I'm streaming on my own platform right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, it sucks. It is a hard job. And I love this topic about the retention. And you can talk more on that if you want to, on the retention and like what you're doing and here's the thing. So like in full transparency, we can talk about like, Aaron isn't necessarily a big Leia user. Why, Aaron? He read the book One Layer Deep and he took off, man. And so what we're trying to do is just teach you guys like the one layer deep concept and how you live it. Leia's just the tool that helps you get there. But Aaron, where'd you build your one layer deep life?
All Google spreadsheets. Everything.
All Google Drive. Yeah.
Yeah. And it simplified a lot of things. And we did that everything through Google spreadsheets. We did it with our construction that we're doing in the building. We did that with all the quotes that came in, all the list of the contractors. So, I can go, I can go to my phone and find whatever I need. Just by finding, documents, tax documents, EIN numbers. We've opened up so far 3 more companies this year. So, and everything is at my fingertips now. So I'm able to get that. Now it's just a matter of, you have to get the whole team, every single thing that they do now is that we've been discussing with our admin team is that everything that I give you an answer to, you put that inside a spreadsheet and that is your SOP. So we're trying to clean this up a little bit in the admin side is, really trying to build that success for every single admin team. So this way, everybody knows how to jump in where they need to jump in. It's not a defined role of this is what you do. Everybody should know how to answer the phone. Everybody should know how to quote a client. Everybody should know what to do with a client that needs to reschedule. Everybody should know what to do when a client doesn't answer the door at a house. So, we're trying to, what are these top 25 things of the most common things that we get asked every day from employees, and every single admin team should know that.
Yeah. And I love, okay. So Chris, do you want to read a question? Is that a question? I can't see.
Yeah. So so pulling up for JP, asking, how do you usually start conversations with your technicians to create a safe and open environment where they feel comfortable about asking questions about their work? Specifically, how do you set the expectation that the purpose of the conversation is to address any uncertainties that they may have and reassure them that there's no need to feel shy or anxious about asking? So that opening up, like how do you create that, what we call psychological safety?
Sure. I mean, I can answer that because I have a series of probably 40 questions that we start this conversation, and you have to start
Did you say
the
40?
40 questions. Yeah, it's about 40 questions. And in the beginning, you have to ask, how are you doing? Are you okay? Is there anything that we should know that might be affecting your work, with home or anything? You start as that personal conversation with them, and then they open up, and then they feel more in that comfortable, safe environment, and that's how we open up the one-on-ones with three basic questions, personal, in asking them. And then we go into, the work and the workload and scheduling and, any questions that they might have and unanswered. So I can share that, with you.
That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to add to that. And you know, I think it's for those they're trying to like turn this boat around. I think the important thing to know here is that it's not going to be on the very first time that you roll this out. I think Libby, you've always said it before, is that consistency wins. Is you got to keep doing it over and over and over again to then build that confidence, that trust over time, not in the immediate moment. Because if you start from zero, to go to 0 to 100 is pretty hard. But you can start to break down those barriers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, people want to just change or you hear a good idea and then you come in and you're like fire hose all over everybody. And it's about the micro, the small.
We'll kick it off on that, the micro. I don't know if she dropped off, but yeah, Aaron, just teeing it back up to you. That consistency factor.
Yeah, and what we've done now is that we put it in our calendar that we'll do the one-on-ones with the employees at least once a month, just to keep that momentum of them being happy and seeing what's going on. And then the trainees we've been speaking to once a week, but we also have a separate chat inside Google Workspace for the trainees and also the training managers. So the trainees are all in this workspace, and then the training managers are there. There's three of them, and they are there, and their responsibility is to answer questions for any new employees.
Yeah, I love calling that a high touch warm up.
Yes, yeah. And after they're done with training, then what we do is then we move them into our regular company chat, because you don't need the new employee blowing up the chat 10 times a day with questions or anything like that. What we've done, and Libby, we've had these conversations where how do you get the techs to use the playbook? And so what we do now every morning is our admin team says, good morning, everyone, have a great day. Let's make good use of our tech playbook. And then they share the link in the morning. So this way, and the employees like that now, because then they don't have to go and search for it in the tab or, in the board. So it's right there. They can scroll up into the beginning of the day, and then they go in there. If there is a question that's not in there, then they ask us, and then now an SOP is made for that one particular question that's not in there. So that was basically the feedback. That was from feedback that we got from our one-on-ones last week. That they love that every morning.
I love that. That is one layer deep. They don't have to scroll. They don't have to look. They don't have to look for the pinned comment. It's just like right there, like as simple as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And Chris, when am I going to get my permalinks? Me and Tiffany are waiting.
Oh, I'm working on it. I'm trying to get it pushed out. I couldn't make it for this Wednesday, but next Wednesday we're going to see.
So permalinks, if you don't know, so truly right now, the way Leia's set up, we can send the link to Leia to our technicians every morning, right? Oh, if you have any questions, just here's Leia, like click into Leia. Also, Chris updated the login. So now it's just a super simple login for cleaning technicians for everyone, because we got a lot of feedback that it was hard for the technicians to sign up. We fixed that last week. But for it to be truly one layer deep, I need the permalinks, and permalinks are like, hey, by the way, just like, here's the link to, what do we do if nobody answers the door? And so you're dropping straight to that playbook versus like the whole thing. those are permalinks, and like truly to have that one layer deep like embodiment, I need those things, and I know they come with time, so I'm still patiently waiting.
Yeah, and Libby, to that point, I'm, for myself, it's something I'm very passionate about. But we call it a living handoff. It's something that you can actually go and deliver. And I dropped in the chat, and I was laughing before because when I first said this statement, I said it in the operation, the event. But you were like, "What the heck?" But it's the beat drums and bake cookies. But beating the drum is all about the rhythm that we apply to something. Like you said, Libby, is the consistency around it. And then baking the cookies is delivering that thing, that what's in it for me, right in front of their face. So like what Aaron shared was every single morning is dropping in those cookies. You can smell it, you can taste it. And that then becomes that reward factor of trust. And then you can start to add in and sprinkle in the important stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cut down a lot of communication. From all the cleaning technicians, definitely messaging every single day. So it's definitely helped, because that was conversations that we've had, Libby, where it's, they don't look at the playbook. We built this amazing thing and it has all the answers to everything, but they still ask the questions. And so, we drop it in there in the morning, and then it's there. If it's not there, or somebody asks something, if we have time, then like we will drop the one specific answer to that question. We'll drop the video and also the doc inside that question from somebody. So this way they don't have to go look in the playbook if it's immediate.
Yeah, and I think this is a good point, Aaron. Also, I remember the very first Monday that you didn't have to. It was the first Monday that you didn't actually go in to work in a long time. Remember that? And you were with me on that Monday.
Yeah,
I will never forget that Monday.
Yeah, and I think that's the amazing part, is that and I really do believe, listen, nothing's ever going to be perfect, right? We're always going to be improving. So give up the whole perfection thing, mindset that this is going to be perfect and this is going to be everything. And it's not. You're going to constantly change. You're not constantly change it, but you'll improve it or add all the time. And I think that, because of what I did on that one layer deep, and because of the book, it gave me back my mornings. It gave me back my mornings that I can wake up now. I'm down 15 pounds again. So yeah, I'm 50 years old. I can actually start seeing abs now. So watch out, Chris. I'm catching up to your 8.
Watch out. I love abs. Yeah. When you texted me that you were like, "Oh, I'm getting abs," I was like, "Ooh, watch out, Aaron. I like me some abs."
Yeah. So, I think that, and I do this every day, right? It's you get frustrated, but within the frustration, you have to realize that you have to create the process in order for them, or in order for the situation to go away or succeed. So this way you don't have to deal with it. And I think that, I've had an amazing summer, right? The last 6 weeks, 7 weeks. I have had such an amazing summer spending it in the Poconos at our summer place, and really not having to deal with the day-to-day chaos. Some days I have to, where we'll chime in, but we're gradually getting better and better at removing a lot of that chaos in there. Because what we've done also too with the, I think that we don't realize that a lot of chaos also comes from bad employees. And if you allow it and tolerate it, that's what you're attracting. And I just cleaned house in the last 4 weeks, 6 weeks, and I had to jump back into the business, right? A little bit here and there. But I was like,
hey, there's no shame in that whatsoever.
Yeah.
We call that founder mode.
And I basically, fired 5 people in the last couple weeks. And I was like, I'm done. One was with me for a year. And I was like, you know what? Your excuse isn't good enough for you calling out again. And I'm done. And you are not creating chaos to your coworkers, to the entire team, to the office team, to us, to the clients, all of that. So we went through a little bit of, transition again with, employees, but it's all gone down. We haven't had a call out in 2 weeks. And that's I would say in probably 4 months, we were having a call out every other.
And here's the thing, and we were just having this conversation. I'm in Tennessee, like with a group of cleaning business women. And Ken, there's a whole bunch of cleaning women in Ken, which is Darlene's husband. It's like, and we're talking about this, and it's, if I, here in the cleaning industry, we can be $500,000 and then be $1.5 million in like 2 years, 3 years, right? There can be exponential growth pretty fast. But what we're seeing, and like what you're saying, is the people that we have with us at $500,000, we think we're going to bring with us at $1.5 million, and most likely you're not, because that growth, most people's skills can't grow that fast. And that's the hard part about, do you train them up, right? It's that coach up, coach out, or do you wait for their skills to develop? But if you wait for those skills to develop, you're going to be constantly frustrated as an owner, right? Or has the company outgrown them, which is okay. I think we look at it as a negative, but it's okay if a company outgrows an employee. Because if they're not performing, you're miserable, and they're probably miserable too. And sometimes you do have to have like a reset. Also, the changes. I have a whole bunch of our staff in here. I mean, the ones that have been here for a time have seen the change in me, and some of them are still here and some of them are not, because if I change or you change, the company changes as well.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to add to that, Libby, because I have to say this historically by data and financially watching our numbers all the time, is that every time that we've had a reset and every time that we have cleaned house, we have always grown. And we have always went to that next level or that next goal or hit that next goal.
Are you telling us we have to fire everybody to grow?
Well, you have to, get rid of that chaos, and sometimes in the days that it's extremely hard, even though that you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Or, what is going on? I have no employees. You will get through it and you will grow. And we have always seen that, is that every time that we go through this shortage of employees, we always reach another amazing revenue goal. And we get better clients and better employees. And, sometimes it happens for a reason, but you really have to not tolerate it. Don't tolerate the nonsense or the chaos. And, just because you're short, it's not worth it, because you're allowing that to happen inside your company, and that's what you're going to attract, and more people will see it and more people will follow and behave that way.
But that's also why we lose our bad people. I mean, our good people, right?
Yeah.
Chris, do we have another question? Like, before we got time for like one more? I thought I saw a question that said you love it, or.
Yes. So there's I think this is a two-part question, but we'll start with the good stuff. So in the context of employee check-ins, how do you approach employees whose relationship with work is primarily transactional, that just clock in, do their job, clock out? How do you conduct meaningful check-ins without making them feel like it's a personal or intrusive, and instead position that conversation as something that's genuine and there to support them, rather than something they have to be wary of or cautious? And I think it's just, again, anything outside of the job.
Well, we do the check-ins now. I mean, we do the one-on-ones and we put it on their schedule. And we don't have it just as meeting, a meeting. We put what the purpose of the meeting is. It's a one-on-one check-in to see how everything is going. And, stick to the script, stick to the questions. If you start getting a little bit too personal and asking questions that aren't on the script, it's not going to be, I think, as structured. But we have amazing A-player employees that we have to check in and be like, hey, are you okay? Like, how's it going? Everything's great. It's amazing. My paychecks are great. I saw that you raised prices. I saw that little extra bump in our pay. But I think that you have to stick to your script that you are asking everybody overall, especially like you and Libby had said. You have that data then across the board.
If you're sticking, it's like an interview, right? If you're interviewing everyone differently and you're changing your questions in an interview, then you're not going to have confidence in your decision, because you don't have like a concrete output to make a judgment or a decision off of. Same thing with the one-to-ones. Have a script like it's an interview. I would not be personal, because we don't get personal in an interview either. Necessarily. I would just say, how is everything going? How are you? I'm not saying like, anything personal in that context. If they want to open up, they can. But this is going to sound funny, I don't mind transactional interactions. um, they don't bother me because I don't think there's anything wrong with someone who does uh do their job and do the check-in, and they do what they're supposed to do and they go home at the end of the day. And I would probably be a transactional employee if I wasn't employed. Because I'm structured, and I don't get personal necessarily. Now I've grown a lot over the years, and I have shared more. But originally, a few years back, I was extremely transactional. And I don't mind that. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Now, if they're not a good employee, or we're having issues, or we're trying to find out why, now maybe that's a different scenario, and you're just trying to dig a little bit more to see if it's a personal problem or a work problem or a training problem. A great question here that when we were talking, someone asked an employee that was like, had a complaint, was like, did we give you all of the training that you felt you needed to do the job correctly? Like, have you ever asked your team members that? Like, did we supply the proper training for you to clean the windows properly? And it's pretty surprising probably how many people will probably say no.
Yeah, we just, it's funny that you said that, because one of the, we asked that question, is there anything else that you feel that you need more training on? And everyone, we've had 3 people come back out of some of these one-on-ones, is that they all want to know how to better clean an oven. And it was just more of a step-by-step. And so we made a video, and then we shared a video, so how to clean an oven. And so, you're solving problems at that time too, is, within, asking those types of questions.
Yeah, I love that topic. And go ahead.
Oh, no, I mean, I was just going to say, when you said the transactional part, it's extremely important to understand that these they're employees. We pay them. We are not their friends. We are not family. They are there to do a job. And you need to get that, that's being a business owner, is to make them, to let them know that, listen, I'm giving you a paycheck. You're not doing us a favor. Like, we are supplying you with a job. This is your responsibility, to perform this job. And I think that there's that gray line, maybe especially when you're a little bit smaller. We all wanted to be friends, and we all wanted the employees to like us, and we all wanted to do this and that for them, and all this other stuff. We used to do events, and we looked at the amount of money that we would spend doing events or bringing them on excursions or experiences, and it's a different staff every 6 months, except for your core employees. So, your core employees are the ones that are with you for a year or more. Do something special for them, but not for the ones that are just on board for a month or 2 or 3 months. But it again, understanding that, Tony and I have had these conversations. We are their employer, and they are our employees, and not get that, line there.
Yeah. And I think it's really important. I say this to everybody who works for me, is you're not going to work for me forever. Mm-hmm. Like, and let me help you build your skills, and, so that when you leave here, you're going to leave better than we found you. And I think just having that, knowing that, and it's not that it's mean. So I look at it like we're a team, right? Anyone play basketball, right? You're on a team. You work together, you train together, you play together, you're on a team. And that team can change. Sometimes the core team stays. Sometimes a few people leave. Some people come and go. Some people weren't made for the team. And sometimes people change teams, and that's okay. And I think somewhere along the way, as a business owner, we thought it was failure if somebody didn't work well. And sometimes it is us, like we're not prepared. We don't have the systems or the processes. But also from the employee side, it looks like a failure if they don't work out, versus just like, hey, maybe you just have to switch teams. Let me help you find a new team.
Yeah, and we realize this too, is that some employees excel better by themselves. And they're not meant to be part of working with like other team members on bigger homes or other, deep cleans, or, move in, move out cleans, or luxury cleans. We realize that, and that's okay. We don't say, they're not a good employee because they won't work with anyone else. They just work better by themselves. And, I think it's really understanding the part of, how each employee is. Some people like working by themselves because they had bad experience with working with, group settings and people and, different things. But I think that, learning the behavior and the type of your employee by asking these questions. I mean, I'm really excited about, finishing up the one-on-ones and really just seeing the answers that they ask or they answer.
Yeah. We did an exercise with our team the other day, and I really encourage everyone to do this. If you're a VS or if you're on the One Layer Deep team and you were there, why don't you drop something in the comments? Maybe you could just say one word about it. But if you remember the exercise I did with you guys, asking you, what are you effing amazing at? What can you run fast at? And what do you hate? That was a really great exercise. Oh, I said, what do you suck at? And you had to say it in that context. I made everyone say it in that way. And some of the things that people were amazing at, I was like, I didn't even know they did that. I actually repositioned someone because of that exercise to a better role for them. And then what do they suck at? And it's hard to say what you're great at. That's what everyone struggled with is I'm great at X, Y, and Z. And then they had to say, I suck at blah, blah, blah. Right. And, it was really good and it was really insightful. It was recorded. And I actually have went back, asked May, hey, can you pull Gabby's recording? Cause she said she was really great at something. And I think I want to move her or shift her responsibility. And if we don't ask the questions, and those are not personal questions, by the way, if we don't ask those questions, then we have no idea what they are good at. To go back to answering our original question was, what can you move them up to? Where could they go? Where could they reposition to? What do they love to do and what do they hate? It was funny because a couple people said they hated answering the phone and that was what they were doing for their current role. But I love the fact that they could tell me the truth and say that. And they would laugh and they're like, even though that's what I'm doing right now. And I was like, side note, so-and-so hates answering the phone. But it was funny because no one got in trouble. We actually shifted some responsibilities. And it was trying to understand people better so that you can create roles that they truly can move up to. Because again, when we're planning in business, we should be looking at 6 months from today. I'm not planning tomorrow and I'm not really planning next month. I'm looking at in 6 months, what would my org chart look like? Who would I have in my office? And if I don't know these superpowers from my current staff, whether they're in the field or in their office, then I don't know how I can reposition. And I'm constantly thinking that I have to go find outside help. And it's not typically the case. You don't always need to find outside help or more help. That goes back to One Layer Deep. It's about creating more efficiency for your current staff, not more work, more efficiency so they can have better output.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's one of
I see some stuff going on in the chat.
Yeah, it's one of the questions that we ask in the one-on-ones is what do you dislike? What part of cleaning do you dislike? What's the one thing in cleaning that you don't like? What's one thing that you like cleaning that you're really good at? And some people love cleaning showers. Some people don't like cleaning showers or glass doors. Or one employee said they couldn't stand washing molding and they never want to be on a deep. So and other people are like, please give me more deep cleans. So it's it's amazing when you start asking those questions. You Libby, you said you find out a little bit more about the team and you can reposition and restructure some people.
Yeah. So love this topic. I think we can go ahead and start to wrap up. That was the last question.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Bye.